What's up guys, welcome back. It's hard to believe it, but Christmas is right around the corner, and if you're one of those people that want to switch it up for dinner, you're not trying to do Thanksgiving 2.0, I've got just the recipe you need. Whether you want to do pasta or seafood, I've got both for you today with this seafood lasagna. But before we get into the recipe, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right guys, meet me in the kitchen. Let's make it happen. First things first, let's take a look at these ingredients. We're gonna get started with the stars of the show, the seafood. We got extra large shrimp, we've got lobster claw meat, and we got some lump crab meat. We also got our lasagna noodles. We've got some basil that's seen better days, but we're gonna put it to good use. 1 egg to thicken up our ricotta mixture. We got some flour, Parmesan cheese, butter, sour cream, ricotta, garlic paste, heavy cream for our bechamel, a little lobster base to take the flavor over the top, and we got some mozzarella and sharp cheddar cheese. All right guys, so we're basically breaking this recipe down into 3 parts. We're gonna do our seafood mixture, our bechamel sauce, and then we're gonna do the ricotta mixture. For the seafood, you wanna make sure everything's about the same size, bite-sized pieces. So we're gonna cut these shrimp into thirds. My favorite way to do that is to squeeze the tail down like that, make 1 slice just like that, and you got 3 pieces of shrimp. Obviously, you wanna make sure that your shrimp is peeled, deveined, and clean, like these are. The bottom vein I hear people talk about is not actually an intestinal tract. It's just a normal vein, so it's optional to remove that. All right, so this is about a ½ pound of lobster. This is claw and knuckle. We're gonna cut it down into smaller pieces. You can leave some big chunks in there just for visual. You want people to see that you got a lot of seafood in your lasagna. I'm not mad at that. But you also want it to be well proportioned and evenly distributed. So leave some big chunks, but most of it you want to cut into bite-sized pieces, like so. Can't go wrong with a little lobster in your lasagna. All right, so for our seafood, guys, the only thing that's not cooked so far is the shrimp. So we're gonna season that with my lemon bay seasoning. You can use Cajun seasoning, Old Bay, whatever floats your boat. But we're gonna get some seasoning on that shrimp because we're gonna cook the shrimp before we make our bechamel sauce. We're not gonna do much with the lobster or the crab because that's already cooked for us. All right, so in a mixing bowl, we've got 8 ounces of whole fat ricotta right here. I'm gonna add about 8 ounces of sour cream to that. I'm on record as not a huge fan of store-bought ricotta, so we're gonna doctor it up a little bit. Once we have our sour cream and ricotta in there, I'm going in with about 4 ounces of grated Parmesan cheese, followed by some basil and some freshly diced parsley. We're gonna season it up with the dynamic duo of lemon bay and some all-purpose seasoning. You could also just use some Tony's, some Old Bay, or just keep it simple with a little salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder. I'm also gonna add 1 beaten egg to this because I want this to hold up. We're gonna add that at the end though because we wanna taste this first. Once you add the egg, you don't wanna go in there and taste it, right? So we're gonna go ahead and mix this together. Make sure the flavor is spot on. Once the flavor is good, we'll add the egg. That's gonna help the consistency of our lasagna. That way you don't have a runny situation on your hands. Next, we're going in with a teaspoon or 2 of garlic paste. You can use fresh garlic if you want to. And that 1 beaten egg we talked about. Give that a mix and we'll set that aside. And that is gonna be our ricotta cheese mixture for our seafood lasagna. And now, my friends, it's time to actually get to cooking. In a skillet over medium heat, we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of avocado oil, and we're gonna begin cooking our shrimp. Just go ahead and dump your shrimp on in there. Try to give them a little bit of elbow room so they can get some color. You don't have to cook it 100% of the way because remember guys, it's going in the oven. But we wanna start the cooking process, allow the flavors to kind of come together, get a little color, some texture. All right, so as you can see, we got some beautiful fond developing at the bottom of the skillet, which is exactly what we want. You can see the shrimp is about 60 to 70% of the way cooked. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it with this slotted spoon, leaving behind all the flavor in the skillet, but we're removing the shrimp. All right, guys, so to this same skillet, we're gonna add 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter and a good teaspoon of that lobster base. Remember, guys, the lobster base has quite a bit of sodium in it, so you don't wanna go too heavy on your salt with the seasonings that you choose. Remember, my AP is low sodium, so if you see me going a little heavy, that's why. Once we add this flour to the butter, we effectively have a roux, which is gonna be the thickening agent for our sauce. About a tablespoon or 2 of that. We're gonna mix that in, cook the raw flour taste off for about 30 seconds. It'll start to form like a paste. And then we're gonna go in with about 2 cups of heavy cream. And we're just gonna bring that up to a boil. It'll start to thicken up, and at that point, we'll reduce it down to a simmer, add in a little Parmesan, season to taste if needed, and that will be our bechamel that we'll be using. All right, so once we reach a gentle boil like you see right here, I'm gonna kill the heat. Our sauce will begin to thicken up nicely, and then we're going in with about a half a cup or so of grated Parmesan cheese. I'm gonna stir that in. As always, guys, taste as you go and adjust the flavor to your preference. And all the specific measurements and ingredients are listed for you in the description box below, so don't forget to check that out. Gonna add in a little crushed red pepper flakes, because why the hell not? Just a little bit of spice to the party, totally optional. And there, my friends, is your sauce. All right, my friends, half the battle is prep work. So as we discussed earlier, this dish is broken down into basically 3 main components. We have a ricotta mixture here, our bechamel, and our seafood mixture. We got some cooked lasagna noodles. You wanna cook them about half the way through. You can use a wet paper towel to separate them, that way they don't stick. And then you just need your casserole dish, and we can get this party started. All right, so our oven's preheated at 350 degrees. First things first, we're going down with a light layer of that sauce right at the bottom. Kind of smooth that out, make a nice thin layer at the bottom before we go down with our lasagna noodles. Next, we're going down with one first layer of lasagna. You can overlap them a little bit, guys, like so. For this size casserole dish, this is about a 9 by 11. We can fit 3 sheets of lasagna on that bottom layer. From there, we're gonna begin adding our ricotta mixture. Nice thin layer of that as well. Just kind of dollop it on there and then you can smooth it out. The next guest to arrive to the party, it's plenty of seafood, guys. We got crab, we got shrimp, we got lobster. But feel free to substitute whatever you like. If you want to just use shrimp or crab or lobster, that's cool. Whatever's in the budget. You can use claw meat instead of lump. That's usually a little bit cheaper per pound, still delicious. A good layer of the seafood right on top of that ricotta mixture. Next, we're going down with a mixture of sharp white cheddar and mozzarella right on top of the seafood. There we go. And then basically, guys, we're just gonna repeat that process until we fill our casserole dish. So going down with a little bit more of that bechamel. It's thickened up a bit since it's cooled. You want it thick though, because you don't want a runny lasagna. So a thicker than usual sauce is a good thing for today's recipe. I'm gonna smooth that out like a rocky relationship. Best you can without messing up your beautiful layers. As it melts and heats up in the oven, it'll go where it's supposed to go. Just trust the process. And now for the final layer, my friends, one more layer of lasagna. This is for sure gonna impress your house guests for Christmas. Might wanna put a little tip jar out so they can chip in on this bad boy, because I realize seafood is not cheap right now. And then for the final layer of our bechamel sauce, remember guys, it's got that lobster base in it, some Parmesan cheese. Tons of flavor in that. Take my little spatula and spread this out. Nice light layer, no need to get crazy. Then last but not least, we paid for it, so no seafood left behind. Throw a little top layer of seafood just to have some chunks poking out the melted cheese for presentation purposes. Nice light layer of seafood right on top. And then finally, my friends, we're gonna top it with one last layer of cheese before it goes into that 350-degree oven for about 30 to 40 minutes, or until it's golden brown, bubbly, and beautiful. So this is what we're looking like after 35 minutes in the oven at 350. You wanna allow this bad boy to cool for about 15 minutes before you slice into it. And now, my friends, it's time to brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys, looking good. Look at those layers. All right, guys, I found my fork, and now it's time for my favorite part of the job, AKA the moment of truth. It's time to get in here for the taste test, but before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. This thing is so beautiful, I don't even want to break into it, but if you guys got to convince me, here we go. Oh, man. The seafood all throughout. Here we go.